From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
And good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce, and this is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, shining bright or losing some luster as mineral and metal development diminishes in the U.S. What does it mean both to Nevada and to the nation? My very special guest today is Mr. Hal Quinn, the president and CEO of the National Mining Association. Thanks for being here again.
My pleasure, Marilee. Thank you for having me.
Now, occasionally on Eye on Washington, we are privileged to bring you exclusive one-on-one interviews with leaders of top Nevada industries. Today, I am joined by Hal Quinn, who heads the Washington, D.C.-based National Mining Association. It's the industry's representative on Capitol Hill. And today on Eye on Washington, we'll tell you how a lagging output could affect everything from jobs to technological leadership to reliance on foreign suppliers. We'll ponder why this nation's mines are underperforming relative to other countries. And we'll ask my guest, Mr. Quinn, what can be done both legislatively and in the effort to determine snags in the mining permit process. Now, my guest, Mr. Quinn, joined us in the fall alongside Nevada U.S. Senator and Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. And during that program, we told you that in the midst of this rough recessionary time, one sector was shining brightly, the Nevada mining industry. Now, mining employs more than 14,000 Nevadans directly and tens of thousands more indirectly. It pays among the highest wages in the state and is in rural Nevada. It is the economic lifeblood. It produces its products are dependent on by all of society. But there is a worry among top mining leaders, like my guest today, that Nevada and other U.S. mining states are losing their edge, that the U.S. is underperforming the rest of the world in the development of its mineral resources. A just-released report conducted by McKinsey & Company for the NMA expresses concern that countries including Australia, Canada, and others are outperforming us in terms of production, causing grave concern for Mr. Quinn and others for a multitude of reasons, which we will get right off to Mr. Quinn. Now, the research I did with your staff prior to this show says that a big concern you have is a growing reliance on foreign suppliers. Why the worry there?
Well, two, Marilee. One is economic security, and the second would be national security. Virtually every sector or economy relies on minerals in some form. Mm-hmm. And so whether it be agriculture, technology, manufacturing, telecommunications, they all start with mining in some form through the raw materials we produce and the commodities and finished products. So if we fall short on our mineral production, we're going to affect every other segment of our economy. Less products will come off the line. And if we don't have stable and secure supply chains for those.
What does underperformance mean as far as jobs in the economy?
Well, underperformance, what we mean is we're not living up to our full potential in terms of our capability as a nation. We have one of the richest endowments of mineral resources in the world, but we're not quite meeting our potential in terms of new investments and productions of those minerals domestically here in the United States. So that translates into jobs that could be created, high-wage jobs that you mentioned could be created here, and then the multiplier from those jobs through the rest of the economy.
I know you spend a lot of time either in Nevada or worrying about Nevada since, it's third largest in the world for gold production. And as my viewers and listeners are only too well aware, and anything that threatens job security in Nevada, that is especially worrisome. Maybe expand on that a little bit as far as this issue.
Well, it should be. Let's look at the interdependence of our economy. We start with nationwide about $57 billion worth of raw materials are produced by the mining industry in this country. And those are made into other intermediate products, whether it be steel, aluminum, and so forth. That's valued at almost half of $500 billion. And that later is translated into or made into finished products that are worth about $2 trillion on an economy. So if we fall behind in the first segment in terms of mining, then we fall behind in every other segment and every other job that could be created or could be retained.
And how about supply constraints for U.S. manufacturers?
Well, clearly when we are producing less of those materials here, over time, many of those folks who use them in the industries will eventually resource or relocate their businesses over time to those countries where there is a stable and affordable supply of those minerals.
And what about what does this mean for technological advancements for mining?
Well, it's huge. I mean, when you look at where we do have some clear advantages in our country in terms of technological development, all those emerging technologies, whether they be energy, medicine, telecommunications, they do have some form of metals or minerals in them. And so we need to have very stable supplies of those minerals, and the more we can source them here, the more reliable the entire supply chain can be.
So as other countries outpace us in production, your concern is more mining technologies also would be produced elsewhere? Well,
mining technologies and other technologies that are essential for our economy will be sourced elsewhere. That's correct.
Well, we've gotten through the worry. Let's do next segment on the why. Why are we underperforming other countries? And that's right after this on Eye on Washington.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Brought to you by the Southern Nevada Water Authority, the National Mining Association, the Frias Companies, Caesars Entertainment, NV Energy, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, and Skyline Restaurant and Casino.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in Southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from the welcoming hills of Boulder City to the friendly streets of Spring Valley, everyone's playing their part. Way to go, Joe. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C., is your weekly update on the top federal issues that are most important to Nevadans. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column that puts a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials from industry and business leaders about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Heads we go, tails we stay. A coin flip. That's how it all began for what is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Charlie Frias, with a can-do spirit and support of his loving wife Phyllis, bought ABC Union Cab in 1966. They then parlayed 5 cabs into a fleet of nearly 1,000. And today, Frias has over 2,000 employees and was recently voted Las Vegas's best company to work for. Frias, safe, reliable, simply the best.
America's minerals have made us a nation of self-reliant dreamers, shaping our world and the endless ways we enjoy it. But red tape often forces us to import more than half the minerals we depend on. Minerals we already have. We don't import our dreams. Shouldn't that go for our minerals, too? The National Mining Association. Learn more at nma.org.
Welcome back to Eye on Washington, our one-on-one interview with the nation's top mining official. He is my guest today, Mr. Hal Quinn, the President and CEO of the National Mining Association. The importance of mining to Nevada, it can't be overstated. Nevada leads the nation in mineral and metal mining. It ranks 3rd in the world for gold production and also produces more than 40 other major minerals and metals. But as we've been discussing today, my guest, Mr. Quinn, is gravely concerned that this country's mining industry is losing its edge and underperforming the rest of the world in the development of its mineral resources. So let's focus this segment on the whys. Why are Nevada's and this nation's other mines lagging in mineral and metal development? That report I cited in our last segment cites 3 major reasons. First, long, cumbersome, and duplicative permitting processes have made the U.S. less attractive for investment. Next, the report says we have an uncertain regulatory environment. And finally, to the surprise of none of you in Nevada, we have a very slow economy in the state and elsewhere. And Mr. Quinn, you and other top mining officials, you've been on the program before to express some frustration over what we talk about as burdensome regulations. Tell us some more about that.
Well, Marilee, one of the when we review the investment climate globally for mining, for the United States, what continually comes up amongst the global leaders in the mining industry and investors is that we have one of the most uncertain and protracted processes for getting permits and authorizations, commence construction, and to operate our facilities. That clearly has places a damper on new investment. Investors want to know that there's a little bit more certainty in terms of the money they want to invest in a particular project. There's going to be a real likelihood of success, and part of that success is actually getting the permission to go forward and start operating.
Well, if another country has an easier permitting process, of course it follows that that country is going to be more attractive for investment than as far as
absolutely.
mining.
I think it's also an indication of how hospitable that nation is in terms of hosting mining investments.
Can you give us some examples of other countries and how much easier it is to get a permit?
Well, I can give you an example about a country that has that looked at itself just like we're looking at ourselves now. Canada, for instance, in the 90s, started to occur similar situations where investment in exploration, which is the first, which is the beginning of the mining process, was dropping off precipitously, and other investments were falling off. And they looked at themselves and they looked at their processes and found that a lot of the regulations weren't based on sound science, that the process for obtaining permits was too protracted, and therefore they took measures on their own to, in terms of the nation and the industry, in terms of correcting those particular public policy flaws.
So this was like 15, 20 years ago?
This is back in the 1990s. Yes.
And now where are they?
They quickly found a lot of investment returning to that country in terms of new projects, and the coordination between the national and the provincial governments assisted quite a bit.
You know, regarding the uncertain regulatory environment, our Nevada congressional members have, as long as I've been doing this show, been very friendly to mining and have worked hard to educate other members on the Hill to the importance of mining, not just to Nevada, but to the nation and to the world. And yet, mining leaders like yourself and your predecessors have been on this program to say just how difficult some administrations have tried to make it be to be a hard rock miner. How difficult, I don't know, tell us about some of your scenarios working with folks on the Hill to try to get the going a little easier.
Well, the Nevada delegation clearly has a lot of advantages, and one, it fully understands the importance of the mining industry in Nevada, not only to the state, but to the nation as a whole. And at the same time, they've always worked very well together. So they know how the interdependence or economy is both in Nevada and nationwide. So they have truly been real ambassadors for us in terms of spreading the word, not only in terms of what the industry means, but trying to relate it to the national interest and the state interest of other delegations for basically improving the environmental quality as well as the economic picture for their states.
But yeah, 2010, last year, was a year when you saw a couple members of Congress who didn't agree so much with what you're trying to do. What were some of the things that you came up against last year as far as legislatively, and some of the things you're looking at, worrying about, or hopeful about this year?
Well, we had a number of proposals last year where folks wanted to change various laws that control how we operate on public lands in Nevada and elsewhere. But I think under the circumstances of the economic situation and not a full appreciation for what those policies might do to both the mining industry and the nation, I think cooler heads prevailed. Looking forward, what we'd like to do is we believe there's a need to raise awareness of the importance of the mining industry. So we're going to be launching a new campaign called Mining Minerals Make Life. And the purpose of that campaign is to educate not only policymakers in Washington, but outside Washington as well, about the importance of the mining industry to the economic welfare of this country. As
we wrap up this segment, 2 years into the Obama administration, friendly, not friendly, still checking it out? Well, I think the administration, I believe, is still looking to fully understand what this particular industry, our industry, offers to the country. They've been willing to listen, and we're very optimistic we can continue to work with them on some issues we think we'll have common ground on. Okay. And when we come back, we're going to find out what can be done to recapture our higher performance rates. And that's on Eye on Washington right after this.
Sunrise. The Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Guests from those hipsters in Henderson to those frolicking families around Lone Mountain, Everyone's playing their part. Nice frolicking. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
How will new energy technology make our lives better? Will geothermal, wind, and solar energy be a bigger part of our future? Yes. And soon it will all be in our backyard. Learn more at nvenergy.com.
Every day, thousands of people in northern Nevada don't get enough to eat. 1 out of 5 children in northern Nevada go to bed hungry every night. But you can do something about it. Catholic Community Services of Northern Nevada has been providing help and creating hope in our community for more than 65 years. By donating food, time, or money, you can make a difference in a hungry person's life. When you make your generous donation to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, you're helping to fight the scourge of hunger in northern Nevada. In these tough economic times, now more than ever, we need to help those less fortunate. To find out how you can donate to St. Vincent's Dining Room and St. Vincent's Food Pantry, call, click, or stop by. And together, we can end hunger in northern Nevada.
You already watch Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's only statewide program produced in Washington, D.C. But for even more news from Capitol Hill that affects you, your family, and your business, you need to read Nevada's Washington Watch, our online newsletter. In-depth reporting on federal efforts that impact you. Our exclusive Inside the Beltway column, putting a microscope on Nevada's congressional delegation. Guest editorials about what Nevada needs from the Hill. Nevada's Washington Watch, your watch on Washington. Subscribe today at nevadaswashingtonwatch.com.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of why Nevada's and this nation's mines are underperforming the rest of the world in development of minerals and metals. We've been visiting with Hal Quinn, the President and CEO of the National Mining Association. Do you have any idea just how important mining is to your everyday life? Nevada's second largest industry is crucially important to everyone, every state, and every nation. In fact, it's helping you watch or listen to this program today. We're dependent on mining and the metals and other materials needed for our phones, VCRs, televisions, for those used to build and operate our computers, for our medical equipment, airbags, and so many other high-tech gadgets, and for low-tech stuff too, like your carpet fiber. Well, considering mining's importance, it's easy to understand why my guest is so concerned about the news that U.S. mines are underperforming other countries. So what can be done to recapture our high-performance rate? While he says legislation that reduces burdensome regulation would help, my guest, Mr. Quinn, says legislation is not the only answer. We've mentioned the industry's hands have been tied by that long permitting process, and we need to untie them if we're to get that competitive edge. So, Mr. Quinn, first, how are other countries managing to ensure environmental protection while also unclogging that regulatory pipeline?
Well, in a number of countries, we're actually exporting our environmental ethic and stewardship when we go over and invest overseas. What they've been able to do is, frankly, look at their processes for reviewing projects and minimizing any duplication or eliminating any duplication, and actually having some clear deadlines and schedules for evaluating the projects and then approving or approving those projects going forward.
In a perfect world for you, how would the pipeline get unclogged here?
Well, we could start looking at the overlap we have amongst various federal agencies and state agencies. We can find out what are we doing twice when we can do it better once. We're not looking here for any shortcuts around requirements. We're looking just to end up with a better product more efficiently. What
are some of the examples of that overlap?
Well, you have you have in the state of Nevada and in the federal government several agencies looking over at water quality, others looking at disposal of materials, Others looking in terms of design of
which would set back a permit how long when you have all these folks involved?
Well, on average, it's taking here in the United States anywhere from 6 to 10 years. And in other countries, we can bring the same environmental ethic, design, and efficiencies to those operations and get permission, get oral authorizations within 18 months to 2 years.
So what is that doing to us as far as being able to compete?
Well, it's obviously a big detriment. Let me put it this
and getting
way.
worse, right? Because it backs up.
And getting worse. If you had an investment and I told you you have two choices where to put your investment, whether it's going to be somewhere where you're going to get a return on your investment in 18 months versus 6 to 10 years, the difference in that value proposition is fairly clear. Have
Canada and Australia and some of the other nations that are gaining in mining output, have they always had an advantage on us?
No, they haven't. Some of those countries, and particularly Canada, is experiencing similar situations back in the 90s, and they took it upon themselves to give it a hard look at how that process could be improved. So prior, like the story that you shared last segment about Canada, for instance, prior to the 90s, were they bound by some of the same strangulations that we're facing now? Duplication, protector processes, and also concerns about limiting access to very promising mineral-rich lands as well. And you gave us the story about Canada. Is Australia very similar to Canada? And well, I can't say they're very similar, but I know that Australia and has from time to time looked at its own national and local regulations and have tried to improve that. And you know, Australia is a very mineral-dependent country, and a lot of exports of minerals from Australia. So they are very keen on being globally competitive. So what haven't we got to? What else can be done to improve mineral development here? Well, the other thing is we can look at where we have access, particularly on our federal lands, to explore and develop promising mineral prospects. About probably a third, almost a half of the land, federal lands, are either off limits or restricted to future mining projects, which is very concerning. I never try to get very dramatic on this show, but I think it's very important that we take a moment to let you explain what it's going to mean to U.S. mining if we don't make some of these improvements. Well, I think what's going to happen is we're going to continue to see an erosion in terms of the amount of investment here in the United States and whether we're going to be still globally competitive in a number of areas in the mining industry. In terms of measuring the amount of the value of mining to our economy versus the amount of investment we're putting into it, we rank very low in that ratio. We're very high in terms of the impact we have in terms of our GDP, but very low in terms of putting new investment for new projects or expanding existing projects. This show and the research behind it was really based on the McKinsey report, but none of this is news to you. You've been talking about this for about as long as you've been. We have been talking about it for a while, and now with the McKinsey report, we're that much more alarmed, correct? We have it more fully documented, and part of that report will be trying to put together a vision through 2030 for how our industry become a global leader again. And speaking of our industry and our last moments when Eye on Washington returns, we're going to tell you more about the National Mining Association and why it's so important to you in Nevada. That's right after this.
Sunrise, the Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Yes, from the sunny folks at Sunrise Mountain to our pals out in Red Rock. Everyone's playing their part. Saving water is fun? I'll say, it's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Built on a fleet of just 5 cabs bought in 1966 by founder Charlie Frias, Frias Transportation is now Nevada's largest transportation provider. Today, Frias has a fleet of nearly 1,000 vehicles and more than 2,000 employees. As an industry and community leader, Frias continues to create the future of transportation technology and management and actively supports the community, continuing the legacy of quality service in the Las Vegas Valley. Simply the best. Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
Sunrise. The Mojave Desert. Just another day in southern Nevada? Think again, pal. Millions of concerned citizens are throwing in to conserve water. Guests from those hipsters in Henderson to those frolicking families around Lone Mountain, everyone's playing their part. Nice frolicking. It's a desert out there. Be water smart. Go to snwa.com.
And we are back with our closing segment of Eye on Washington and our moments remaining on this special show with National Mining Association head Hal Quinn. I wanted to share just a bit about the National Mining Association's close work with our Nevada congressional delegation. The association is the industry's representative on Capitol Hill. It's the only trade organization that represents mining, and that means Nevada mining, before Congress, the administration, federal agencies, the judiciary, and the media. And Mr. Quinn, that means that your job is strengthening and protecting Nevada and the nation's top mining companies and the mining industry in general. Tell us a little more about the NMA.
Absolutely. Well, we represent a cross-section of the entire mining industry in the United States, and our objective is to bring information to the policymakers, both in the legislative branch in Congress, the executive branch, and all those agencies, so we can get better informed public policy decisions that will allow U.S. mining to grow and offer those high-wage paying jobs that we do across the country.
And as we end today's show, what are your and the industry's main priorities this year specifically regarding Nevada mining?
Well, for Nevada mining, what's good for Nevada mining will be good for all the mining in the country. And we're looking to establish some better policies for regulatory certainty, stability in the regulatory environment, and then, as we talked about today, is improve that permitting system that has really held us back.
Thank you so much for being here today. I'll look forward to more special one-on-one shows with you in the future. I hope soon.
It's great to be with you, Marilee.
And that is it for this week's Eye on Washington. Be sure to join us next time as we discuss more important federal matters and their impact on you in Nevada. And for news anytime on how federal issues affect you, visit our website, joycecommunications.com. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington. Good day.